Hello, welcome to day three. Actually, it's kind of into day four. We have had an extremely busy day today, and so we are just sliding in after midnight, actually borrowing from day four for day three of the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. My name is LD Robinson, and I am delighted to read with you this evening or this morning, depending on where you are in the world. I am delighted to read with you on this day three of the International Great Black Read Aloud Day 2023. We want to invite you to subscribe to our website, which is greatblackreadaloudday.org. I'm going to push this back. Seems like it's kind of in my face here. And so we're excited about today. We want to invite you to follow us online at Black Read Aloud and join us. If you decide to read, we invite you to tag us at the International Great Black Read Aloud Day or tag us hashtag TIGBRAD, TIGBRAD, and we will gladly put up your cover and your name as the reader for the day's selection. You will be added to our growing catalog, which we post the covers at the end of every day. So today is day three and it's sports, and our selection for today is Black Market, an insider's journey into the high stakes world of college basketball. And this is by Merl Code. And so you can see that. And let me hide this so that you can see the cover completely. And we are going to read a bit from this on day three, which is sports. Zion shifts his weight from side to side, looking around the room with a hint of shyness, almost embarrassment, as a man sings his praises to the cameras and a small crowd assembled to watch. It's part interview, part hype session. But when the man nudges him to introduce himself, he hesitates. "I'm Zion," the boy says, taking in a deep breath. "And I like to ball." "You're the number one player in your class," the man proclaims, clearly feeling like Zion is being a bit too understated. And the man is probably right. Zion is, after all, starting to build quite a buzz for himself in the basketball world. "Ain't nobody can hold you in your class," the man continues. "Nationally, you're on the map." "I definitely ain't backing down," Zion finally says, showing a hint of the self confidence he exudes on the court. At this point, you are probably thinking to yourself, "I know who Zion is, the number one pick in the 2019 NBA draft. As a rookie with the New Orleans Pelicans, he was already an NBA megastar and one-man ratings bonanza who'd secured a $75 million sponsorship deal with Nike's Jordan brand. His highlight videos got hundreds of millions of views online before he even set foot on Duke's campus or was named college basketball's Player of the Year. In only his second year as a pro, he became an NBA All Star and one of the league's most marketable faces. And I'm going to pause here and do a little check that I should have done before I started. Okay. All of that is true, but actually, you probably don't know Zion. Not this Zion. Anyway, because this isn't Zion Williamson we're talking about, it's Zion Lawson. This Zion is the number one player in the class of 2029. If you're doing the math in your head, you're right. He's 11 years old. He's on a Nike sponsored travel team. They've already got highlights of their players splashed across various social media accounts. It's on. And if you want to know how this game really works, you've got to understand what the next 8 years of this kid's life, scratch that, all of these kids' lives are going to be like. Now that they've been identified as top tier players in their class, they're going to be shuttled through a system of branded basketball camps and clinics every spring and summer that are run by Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour. And Puma, who is trying to reestablish itself in the basketball market on the back of sponsorship deals with young up and comers like DeAndre Ayton, Michael Porter Jr., Marcus Smart, and the 2021 NBA Rookie of the Year, LaMelo Ball, will have something to say as well, along with New Balance, which recently inked a footwear and apparel deal with Boston College to outfit all of its athletic teams and has Kawhi Leonard and young emerging NBA talent like Darius Baisley in the fold. Staffers from the brand their team is associated with, who are geographically positioned around the country, will interact with these kids or their people constantly. And depending on how highly ranked they are, that same staffer is shipping them product, shoes, um, shirts, shorts, sweatsuits, socks, backpacks, whatever, on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis. The FedEx delivery man knows what's up, even though the names on the packages often change. That sneaker rep is like a year round Santa Claus whose elves do nothing but make the hottest basketball gear, sometimes including stuff that hasn't and may never hit retail stores open to the general public. That's their job. That was my job. By the time they were in their mid teens and college coaches came knocking, I knew near everything there was to know about a kid's family. I knew if dad drank and flew off the handle. I knew if he was cheating. I knew if mom needed a job because her company hit a rough patch and had to lay folks off. I knew who else was in their life, uncles, cousins, random hangers on, hoping the talented kid might be their meal ticket. Mom wanted some new shoes? Done. The young man needed some winter clothes? I had you. By the time these kids were 16 and starting to consider where they wanted to go to college, nobody had a better relationship with them than I did. So now you can begin to understand why college coaches call sneaker reps when they're trying to start a relationship with a kid and his family. They've already been in there for years by then, and they know who's influential in the kid's life, who's got the juice. What? You thought these kids just magically show up at these camps? The coaches see them, they start being recruited, and next thing everybody knows they're on campus? Think about it. If you're that kid and his family, which school are you more likely to choose? One that's sponsored by the brand that's been outfitting you for years and helping your family, right? Not always, but definitely more often than not. When I was at Nike, we wanted them at Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, or Oregon. At Adidas, we wanted them at the University of Kansas, Indiana, Louisville, North Carolina State, or Miami. Over at Under Armour, South Carolina, Auburn, or Wisconsin. The list could go on for each of those brands, but you get the idea. We're pumping hundreds of millions of dollars into sponsoring these programs, so we need them suiting up the best players, right? And then when they turn pro a year or two later, it's time to make it official. Welcome to the family. Of course, you've been part of the family for a long time, and hopefully you were taken care of along the way because you deserved it, no matter what the money hoarding NCAA said. And there you have it, a decade long process in which people drop in and out of a kid's life, but the sneaker rep is there for the entire journey. That's why the shoe companies have leverage at every pivotal moment. Sure, it's the money, but like everything in life, it's all about relationships. And that, more than anything else, was what my job was about, relationships. Which is why I found myself being introduced to the stepdad of another Zion, Zion Williamson, at a Clemson University football game in 2015, even though they are a Nike school and I was working for Adidas at the time, but more on that story in a minute. When the FBI shocked the college basketball world with its 2017 announcement of charges in a corruption scandal, I was caught in the crossfire. That morning, I was in bed. It was a Tuesday, September 26th. Early, around 6:15 a.m., my wife, Candace, who has a PhD in occupational therapy and was pregnant with my son, August, at that time, I had just returned from a surprise trip to Canada for her birthday. She was in the bathroom getting ready to go to work. I heard somebody knocking at the door. It was still dark outside. Nobody in their right mind would be knocking that early in the morning. I jumped up out of the bed, still half asleep, and rushed downstairs to see what all the commotion was about. Aggravated, clad only in a t-shirt and underwear, I opened the door and was greeted by the shocking sight of close to 20 FBI officers on my porch, lawn, driveway, and the adjacent street. About 12 of them were outfitted in tactical gear, assault rifles raised and at the ready, the rest in plain clothes with handguns drawn. You would have thought I was an international drug lord and murderous fugitive from justice. It was a bizarre scenario that seemed more like a horrific dream. The lead agent barked, "Are you Merl Code? You're under arrest." "For what?" "I'll tell you when you get in the car." "Nope. You tell me why I'm under arrest now." "No, I'll tell you when you get in the car." "Listen, man, I know enough about the law to know that you have to tell me why I'm under arrest." "Money laundering." "From whom? What are you talking about?" The next thing I knew, one of the officers was playing a recording of me talking to Christian Dawkins, a young up and coming sports agent that I'd mentored in the past. "That's not a decision that I can make." I'm sorry. Quote, "That's not a decision that I can make. That's an Adidas decision, and I will certainly ask Gato and see what they want to do." That was the first and last time I heard evidence of that call. "You were involved in money laundering," said the officer. Then he started talking about wire fraud and whatever else. Okay, whatever. An ensuing Yahoo Sports column said the federal charges had me facing a maximum of 80 years in prison. Adidas from the article. Adidas executives Merl Code and Jim Gatto were widely known in the basketball industry as benevolent deal makers, behind the scenes shakers, and confidants of the sport's bold faced names. That changed when Code and Gatto became two of the 10 basketball industry figures arrested in a federal probe that's shaken the sports to its core. Wait, what? Shaken the sport to its core? That's when it began. The nightmare, the BS. My name, my picture, and video footage of me were splashed across every major newspaper, online outlet, and television news program throughout the country. I was mentioned alongside some of the biggest college coaches in the game: Louisville's Rick Pitino, Auburn's Bruce Pearl, Arizona's Sean Miller, LSU's Will Wade. But none of them ultimately faced any charges, and only Pitino lost his job as the head coach at the University of Louisville at the time. Sean Miller survived the initial storm, but was ultimately fired by the University of Arizona following the 2021 NCAA tournament for not winning enough games. Patino has since returned to stalking the college basketball sidelines at Iona, despite two separate sex scandals prior to the FBI investigation that have littered his legacy as one of the greatest coaches of all time. So, why would a small private Catholic college in New Rochelle, New York, with approximately 3,000 undergraduates, hire a coach who was seemingly so toxic a few short years ago? Because what happened at Louisville is par for the course in major college basketball, and it's been going on for over a century, and not too long after James Naismith invented the game in 1891. And toxic or not, Rick Pitino wins games and gets his teams to the NCAA tournament, which he accomplished in just his first year on the job in 2020 to 2021. That translates into big money flowing in from television and proud alumni donors, not to mention lucrative sponsorship deals from sneaker and apparel companies, other revenue streams, and a chance to put Iona on the national basketball map. In essence, it's all about the money, big money. And the machine doesn't stop. It just keeps on churning as the financial stakes continue to get bigger and bigger. So, what was Pitino's final straw at Louisville, where he lorded over the most profitable college basketball program in the country for a university that monetized hoops better than any institution in America? The NCAA ruled that Louisville basketball recruit Brian Bowen, a certified future star who could single handedly elevate the fortunes of the program, was ineligible because of the payments that I helped facilitate at the request of his father and the Cardinals basketball program with the approval of both the Louisville and Adidas hierarchies. The NCAA has sold the myth of amateurism for decades. If you go to the NCAA website, they lay out the myth for everyone to see. Below are some, this is quote, below are some situations that may impact a prospective student athlete's amateur status. Receiving payment from a sports team to participate, receiving funds or money to offset training expenses, accepting prize money based on performance or finish at a competition, being represented or marketed by a professional sports agent, promoting or endorsing a commercial product or service. A money making scheme to rake in billions of dollars while the workers producing the product are allowed to profit themselves? Students of American history, or world history for that matter, will be tempted to say that they've heard of this type of arrangement before. Indentured servitude is a nice way of calling it what it actually is, a form of slavery. And that is from our selection of Black Market, an insider's journey into the high stakes world of college basketball by author Merl Code. And I will hold that back so that you can see that. And that's been our selection today for Sports Day 3, February the 3rd, 2023. And as I said before, we like to invite you to subscribe to our website, greatblackreadaloudday.org, and follow us online at Black Read Aloud. This is day 3, um, and it is Sports Day. And we have just read from Black Market, an insider's journey into the high stakes world of college basketball. A very interesting book and story and some insight into the very lucrative business of college basketball, which we all know to be true. It is quite a lucrative sport. And so we want to remind you of what we have going on, and you will see that tomorrow we have day 4 of the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. And tomorrow's day 4 is it is jazz and music. And so we will be back tomorrow for day 4, jazz and music, in this 2023 edition of the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. And we want to remind you that we partner with Fresh Book Festivals, where they believe that literacy is a legacy, and we happen to believe the same thing. I've spent the last couple of days speaking at schools, and I will tell you that there is nothing more that we stress than reading. Your ability to read makes all the difference in the world. And so we want to encourage you as parents, as people, particularly as parents, that you encourage your students to read, that you read to them, and you help them learn how to expand their way of thinking through books. Books is a wonderful way to do it. And so literacy is a legacy, and it is something that if you pass to your children, it will last with them for many, 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 many years, decades along of reading ability. Because we do partner with Fresh Book Festivals, we want to remind you of what is coming up here later this month in Central Florida and around the nation. We are getting ready for Fresh Book Festival, which will occur February 23rd through the 25th. It is a reading revolution. More than 50 authors will gather in Daytona Beach for the 12th annual Fresh Book Festival, and you are invited to join us. Tickets are on sale online at freshbookfestivals.net. February 23rd is a film festival sponsored by Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And February 23rd, 24th, and 25th are the actual days of the book festival. And you can get your tickets online. We want to remind you that teachers and students with ID are free for the book festival. And you can find all that information online at freshbookfestivals.net. Again, My name is LD Robinson. It is day 3, borrowing from day 4 here at the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. Our selection today has been Black Market, an insider's journey into the high stakes world of college basketball by author Merl Code. And we will see you tomorrow for day 4. This is the International Great Black Read Aloud Day, and we are here giving voice to words written by Black people all around the world. Have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.